So I'm here to tell you that yes, it was that bad, and our hearts grieve for you in knowing what you're going through, because we've been through it, and to let you know that we're so sorry. We're so sorry that it happened to you. And if you've never heard that before, please hear my words. I am sorry that you as a child were sexually abused and that your innocence was taken. And I know Katie feels the same way.
Yeah,
our heart grieves, and all the stories that we hear.
That's why we're doing this.
It's just one after the other. Hi, I'm Angela Williams.
And I'm Katy Sedano.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
Welcome to Voice Up for the Voiceless. Thank you for tuning in to Voice Up for the Voiceless, where we unpack the tough issue of child sexual abuse and exploitation. And we are in a series where we are talking about the lies that survivors believe.
Yep. Today is part 4. It wasn't that bad.
Oh my goodness.
I just got the chills. I think that's the worst one so far.
Yes.
For me.
Yeah. That's a big lie. It's a big lie that society believes too. It's just not a survivor. So I think it reinforces in a survivor's mind.
Yeah.
But I think it's so hard for someone to wrap their arms around and wrap their minds around what happens to a child when they're sexually abused. I think people don't really think about the violence of it.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have to be violent. That's the whole point.
It doesn't have to be violent. You're exactly right. But as you and I have both...
the problem is that trauma is violent to the developmental mind of a child.
And then we know that the most egregious things happen to children. We know that the violence is severe in some situations. But as we've talked about, if you were touched once or you were touched 1,000 times, the trauma is still real. The trauma is still as severe. So it's on a continuum. We talk about this continuum a lot. There's those that have been, sexually abused by youth on youth. There's, family members that sexually abuse. There's neighbors, teachers,
I have
pastors.
some statistics I just got for number 4.
Okay.
But real quick, I love what you wrote here. So I'm going to, as for our notes.
Yeah.
You said survivors may minimize the abuse to cope with the trauma, convincing themselves that it wasn't significant enough to warrant attention, or that others have it worse. This can lead to suppressing their emotions and the healing process. Mm-hmm. I think that's, first of all, very well written and to the point. And it's huge, because how many guests have we had on our show that said, well, mine wasn't that bad, that they start off with that. Mm-hmm. Maybe because they feel they're comparing their story to ours. Mm-hmm. But it's like, we're shocked by that all the time, because we know what happens in the brain. Mm-hmm. We know what happens to the development. We know how just one inappropriate sexual touch can affect that child's life in relationships, in everything.
The value, how they value themselves as a person, the shame, walking around with that shame all the time. I write about this in my book, that I can remember going to kindergarten and looking around and feeling so different from every other little child.
Yeah.
That innocence, it destroys your innocence as a child. That's
it is crazy how it does, and it does it in a layered, fractured way. Yeah. It's almost like when you put a diamond up to the light and it shoots light everywhere. Not that I'm comparing abuse to light, but it's just that's fracturing. How I see it. Yeah,
shattering.
Yeah, so it's like just when they were getting their confidences broken, just when they thought they kind of knew what they wanted or who they were, that's broken. Just when they, thought they were safe,
that's shattered.
Just, it's just. And it compounds as they develop and as they grow and as they have life experiences, that almost kind of emphasizes, oh yeah, your shame. Well, when you stand up in front of a classroom and you're laughed at, it's like reinforcing that little thing that happened that people.
Well, mine started at 3, and I always felt as a little girl that I was bad. Like I always felt like I was a bad little girl. That was reinforced a lot with my perpetrator, that I was bad, and that there was a lot of physical abuse that took place because I was so bad. I was such a bad child. And in reality, I was probably a little angel.
Yeah.
Trying to survive.
Yeah.
But he had to not only groom me, but groom everyone around me that I was bad, bad child. Yep. And I did. I did things that were bad as a child to try to cope. I lied. I changed my grades. I did everything I could to kind of keep peace, and that kind of set me up to be a bad.
I did those
bad
things
little girl.
later. Yeah, later. Not so much when I was little. I don't think. I don't know.
I can remember 1st or 2nd grade, like erasing a grade and changing it, and a C to a B.
Oh, really? I don't know.
I was really little.
Well, mine began at 4. My abuse. I was being groomed. I don't remember ever being told I was bad. But my hook was, if you do this, you'll get this. So material things, permissions, vacations, that became the hook.
So did you ever try to convince yourself it wasn't that bad?
I don't even realize, I don't think that I knew that anything was, it felt icky to me, but he told me he loved me and this was love, and this is what love looked and felt like. And it wasn't until my mom caught him when I was 6 and she was freaking out that I was like, oh, wait, what's going on? And then she told me it was bad and it was wrong and I had to protect myself and, it wasn't my fault. But then it continued. Yeah. And it continued worse.
While mine was going on, it was horrific. I knew it was bad. I knew it was horrible. It was, it was full on sex. I think the first memory I have is I was around 7 or 8. And so I knew it was really bad, but once at 17, when I ran away, that's when I started trying to convince myself it wasn't that bad. Oh. That's when I tried to kind of stuff it down. Like, I'm not going to think about this anymore. I'm not going to face this. My mom said it didn't happen and I made it all up. And, I have no one that believes me.
So now you're gaslighting yourself.
I'm gaslighting myself. And that went on for years, and just trying to be normal. It's like, okay, I'm going to put on this mask that I'm okay. I'm tough. I can get through this. I don't need anybody, and just try to suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah. Well, I have a very, some good examples of this lie later on in life. But before we do, I just want to reiterate something to our viewers out there. I just got these statistics last week. I was in a meeting with a nonprofit called Sapria, and he sent me these statistics. And I'm sorry, I don't know where these came from, but when we were talking in person, I believe they're from the CDC. But they said that sexual abuse is pervasive. 1 in 5 children is sexually abused before reaching 18. And you say, okay, 1 in 5, okay, that's bad. But I want you to wrap your head around this. They continue to write, this means that in the U.S. alone, this equates to more than 1 million children who will be sexually abused this year. I mean, 1 in 5, okay, whatever, but more than 1 million children will be touched inappropriately, raped, sodomized, and abused, or violated in a very physical way. The other thing that I want to reiterate too, that obviously we know that 53% that are reported are somebody you know, love, and trust.
And I've heard that statistic be even higher. I've heard 93%.
Well, here it says 80% of the cases Well, here it's weird. Oh no, I'm sorry. It is. You're right. It's 80% here, but 53% are reported that they got it from technology alone.
Okay.
Or some pornography. And then this is what's crazy, you guys. They said a family member perpetuates the abuse in 20% of these reported cases. They either turn their blind eye or they just move on. And then, of course, the other thing that I really was shocked about is that 87% of youth who are trafficked for sex have experienced sexual abuse prior to being trafficked.
So if we can stop sexual abuse in the home, we can stop child trafficking.
Right.
That's an important point to make. And two, your statistic didn't say this, but also only 1 in 10 ever tell. So these children are out there suffering in silence.
Yeah.
They're growing into adults that are suffering in silence, that are numbing their pain with drugs and alcohol, that are dealing with all types
Which
of
leads to the lie number 3 we just talked about.
psychological disorders. Yes,
Sorry.
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So I'm here to tell you that, yes, it was that bad. And our hearts grieve for you. In knowing what you're going through, because we've been through it, and to let you know that we're so sorry. We're so sorry that it happened to you. And if you've never heard that before, please hear my words. I am sorry that you as a child were sexually abused and that your innocence was taken. And I know Katy feels the same way.
Yeah,
our heart grieves, and all the stories that we hear.
That's why we're doing this.
It's just one after the other,
Yeah.
after the other.
So I want to share a little story. This is going to be tough for me because I don't know that I blatantly shared this. I maybe have. I don't know. We're so vulnerable here. But you're so funny. So just recently, I started talking again with a family member, and they said something that I had to hold my breath and try to reel it in, because I have to understand that people who haven't been in our situation, who aren't survivors, I don't know that they'll ever really get it. They don't get the depth of the pain, the depth of the suffering, and the fact that this is a lifelong sentence. Mm-hmm. That is, unfortunately, something we have to continuously heal from. And because it's layered, it's triggered. We think we're okay, and then something happens or whatever. But this person said to me, I was looking at pictures of your son and the guy, the perpetrator, and he just looks so happy. He's always had a smile. It's like he never seemed uncomfortable. He never this or that. And it just knife to the stomach, to my heart, because we do put masks. We do try to be normal. We want to be a part of the family. Mm-hmm. So we almost re-injure our own selves, and we say to ourselves, yeah, it wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. I want to be involved in family things. I want to go to dinner. I want to be included. Mm-hmm. So I am going to stand there next to my perpetrator and smile like nothing ever happened. And that was said to me. I wrote about it in my book. Look at you. You look so happy in that video. It couldn't have been that bad. Mm-hmm. And it's truly, truly heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And
I remember looking at photo albums, and I'm standing there holding my stepfather's hand, smiling.
Yeah.
And my mother actually gave me some old pictures, and I went through and just ripped up all of them. I just didn't even want his face in my house. Mm-hmm. And I have gone through. It's hard. He passed away, so it's hard to forgive a dead person, but I have worked on that in trying to just, I don't want to carry this resentment or bitterness. But two, I don't need his picture in my house. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just don't need that. So, yeah, my mother says that a lot.
I'm sorry, but
so happy.
Why would she give you?
You look so happy.
Give you the pictures,
right?
Yeah,
insensitive.
I guess they can't possibly. Even though when you tell them, it's like this bothers me, and yet it's like, did you forget that conversation we had last week? But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to hear it wasn't that bad, and as a mom who has a son who went through this, and I hear family members, how, wasn't that bad. There were boys being boys, they were young. They didn't know what they were doing. Well, first of all, the perpetrator very well knew what he was doing, because the minute he said, keep this a secret, this is between you and I, we need to do, did we do a podcast about secrets versus surprises?
I don't know, but we can put that on the list.
Yeah. There's a huge difference. But the minute you say keep a secret, in your gut, even as a kid, that something's not right.
And so many children are silenced just out of fear.
Or they'll say, "Oh, come on, we're just playing. It's not that bad." Yeah. They'll say it. The perpetrators will say it.
And the perpetrators will blackmail children. I know we're seeing that a lot in social media. Children that are being blackmailed that maybe have shared inappropriate pictures that have even taken them to suicide.
Yeah, well, I was kind of, now that you say it, I guess I was blackmailed too. If you tell, they're not going to believe you, number one. And number two, everything will be taken away.
So for our survivors that are listening, if you're kind of dealt with this lie and it's kind of rolled around in your head that, okay, it wasn't that bad, I want you to think about how old you were when it happened. And I want you to find a child that same age and kind of look at that child and give yourself some compassion, because that little girl or that little boy inside of you was that age, and they shouldn't have to have gone through that trauma. So just have some compassion to know that, yes, it was that bad, no matter what it was, no matter what continuum it was. If your innocence was taken, your value was taken away.
Yeah, and maybe even do some research so that you understand how being touched, even as, quote, innocent, I'm doing air quotes, that either the perpetrator made it seem to you, or maybe you were thought, oh, well, they just brushed up against my breast, or they were helping me on the bike and their hand slipped under my dress or something like that. That's not normal. That's somebody trying to touch you in a way that's inappropriate and that gives them some sort of a reaction. And sometimes they just like to get the reaction from the abuser, from the victim. So if that's been your experience, or if you remember somebody, just an adult or somebody kissing you that shouldn't be kissing you, even a kiss, making you feel a certain type of way, I challenge you to look at the research, get some psychological books. There's a great book called Attachments. It talks about that there. So that maybe you can go back and say, oh, wait, maybe because of that, I have this type of relationship. Like if you see certain patterns in your life that are not good, that you need a break, maybe go back and say, well, that thing that I thought wasn't that bad may have been the thing that's creating these patterns today.
Another great book is The Body Keeps the Score, and we'll put that in our comments.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. But I think our society needs to really realize that child sexual abuse is horrific, and I think they know it on maybe a head level, but in their heart level, to just really get to the heart of having more compassion for survivors and what they're going through.
So I had a family member recently reach out to me, and we were talking about the situation with my son and my cousin, and they were like, well, it happened so long ago. Boys will be boys. They were young. They probably didn't know what they were doing or whatever, which, of course, I continued to say that, of course, they knew what the older one was doing. I said, but I want you to picture your grandson that you just spoke about and how he's learning how to play the piano and he's playing in the backyard, and you just sent me a picture. Put him in a room with a cousin that's 4 years older than him, doing the things I just told you that my cousin was doing to my son, violating him over and over again. Are you going to sit there and tell me, oh, boys will be boys?
What did she say?
Oh, she hung up.
She hung up.
Well, but she didn't hung up immediately, but that awkward, oh, well, it was so nice to talk to you, and, let's stay in touch.
Get you off the phone.
Yeah. So I don't know how quickly, but it just seemed pretty abrupt, and I knew it was uncomfortable for her. But you know what? All in all, I hope that somehow maybe I changed her mind or made her realize that, yeah, it's easy for you to say on the outside, it's boys will be boys, or it wasn't that bad. But then when you bring it into their own experience, she got very uncomfortable.
And your son is still suffering.
He is. He's
still suffering.
He's doing much better. So, of course, we all need a lot of support and a lot of healing, and we have to go through it. Mm-hmm. We all have that journey, and I just hope that for him it's a lot easier than it was for me.
So if you have someone in your life that's a survivor that discloses to you, there again, you need to just respond with such compassion. And especially if it's a child in front of you trying to disclose, please have compassion and know that what they've been through is horrific and horrible. And to trust you enough to open up is a pretty big responsibility for you to carry that and to know that you are a safe person in their life that they trust.
Yeah. And whatever you do, don't minimize it. I think that's the worst thing you can do for a survivor.
So if you've been listening and you're enjoying the series on the lies that survivors believe, we ask that you'd please comment. And we're so grateful for Mesmerized Media. We are seeking sponsors to stay on the air. So if you would like a commercial in our show, we would love to talk to you about that. And hopefully, if you know a survivor in your life, please share this podcast with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can always reach us if you don't want to comment publicly at voiceupforthevoiceless.com/contact us, I believe. Or if you want to sponsor, like Miss Angela said, you could always do the same thing /corporate sponsors, and you'll get all the information there. And again, I just want to reiterate, please don't ever tell someone it wasn't that bad. You don't know their experiences. You don't know what they're going through, and you don't know what the effect has been from that abuse. And if they've disclosed about something happening, they may not even remember everything that's happened. So take that in account and into consideration, because if they remember one thing, the likelihood of them having that amnesic wall where they don't remember everything is really high. So, just take that in mind.
Survivors, we're here for you. We
Absolutely.
do understand.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to Voice Up for the Voiceless. I'm Angela Williams.
And I'm Katy Sudano.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.